Government Access Channel 36 presents the February 21st, 1990 Tuckahoe Urban Renewal Agency meeting. Your cameraman director is Dewey Masanti, chairman of the Tuckahoe Cable TV Advisory Committee. And reminder that all the Urban Renewal Agency meetings and the Village Board meetings are broadcast live here on Cable Channel 36. And coming soon, the Planning Board meeting and Zoning Board meetings live here on Cable Channel 36. But right now, the February 21st Urban Renewal Agency meeting.
This is the regular meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency for the month of February. Record should indicate the commissioners are present with the exception of Commissioner Bonte, who was unable to be with us this evening. Our executive director, Mr. Cacciola, is here. Mr. Horowitz is here on behalf of the developer. We usually start out with a report from Commissioner Pinto as our liaison to the project site. Mike, do you have a report this evening?
Yeah, first I'd like to advise the board on last meeting I made a prediction about dangerous condition over there. I'm glad that nobody was hurt, and I can vouch that Mr. Cacciola was there very early the next morning, and it was barricaded. Chief of police has closed down the street now until they get out of that dangerous spot. I've been at the site there a few times since the last meeting. And if you remember, I asked that there be more carpenters employed there, that they may be able to catch up on some of the lagging that has been perpetrated there for the last couple of months since the bad weather slowed them down a bit. We had fairly good weather since the last meeting, outside of maybe a little rain once or twice. I met with them at the motel since the last meeting and asked him also to increase the amount of carpenters he has there so that they have a smoother operation between placing the studs and placing the waistline for the plumbing. And today when Mr. Horowitz showed up, and I'm pretty sure he knows that in order to catch up with some of the lagging, that he has to have a good faith of the contractor there to put up or shut up. Somebody should at least adhere to some of the things that we're asking them to do now, because my requests are not being biased in any way. I think I and the board wishes that the project finishes on time so that we could wind up and celebrate the opening of the project. And I'm pretty sure that Mr. Horowitz tonight will vouch that there is a need for more thing there. But I was talking to Alan, the superintendent there. I asked him when was he going to start on the roof there, but he said that he's still waiting for some material to come in now. I don't know what he was.
Material came in.
If they have no material and they have no work. But all in all, it's been now over 2 weeks since any concrete has been laid. And they started to excavate the last section to close the wall which had been erected so far. There's a section maybe about less than 100 feet that will be in the center, the highest point where the cave-in came in. So they expect within a couple of days or before the end of the week that they will have that formed out and have the footing in. I guess we'll have to wait and see now if we get a little bit better movement and coordination of the different trades that are there. I'm pretty sure that this board will be happy when they do try to catch up with some of that lagging. They still have quite a bit of, I should say, in the garage floor, there's about anywhere from 50 to 60% of the floor laid already. The gravel is down, forming is up, steel is down. All they have to do is get the concrete delivered and finish the floor in the garage area. Electricians are putting some electrical work in there. The plumbing is going, I think, pretty well. And on top of that, I'd like to say that Mrs. Panzerini asked me when is the project going to be finished. And I told her, I says, it'll be anybody's guess. So maybe if Mr. Horowitz could use his magic wand, maybe some of the people that are worrying about when it's going to be finished, maybe he can enlighten them. Because I don't like to get on the hook anymore to say, all I can tell the people that they have until July to finish, and that's all I'm going to tell them. I'm not going to predict anything. Because it'd be a hardship if I say they're not going to finish. Maybe they'll lag behind further, and if I say, well, they'll finish, then maybe somebody get hurt trying to make shortcuts to it. That's all I have to say, unless Mr. Hurwitz.
I'm sure you'll have some comments. Thanks, Mike. Mr. Horowitz, could we hear from you now as to where we are?
Well, the project is still moving along well. As best that we can observe, we don't, to get to the crux of your concern, that we don't anticipate any problem yet in meeting the deadlines and the predictions and the promises that have been made. I agree with Commissioner Pinto that they could certainly use a couple more carpenters on the job. However, I looked over their job logs this morning and noted that they have been averaging over 40 workmen a day working on that job site. They're not all carpenters. Of course, there's a multitude of trades there. We have not seen any indication of trouble on the job or any reason to expect delays. We are satisfied with the performance of the contractor, Mattel, who is doing an excellent job. And I had conveyed Commissioner Pinto's concerns to him this morning, and he did not anticipate any problem in meeting his commitments.
Have we had a delay in pouring some of the concrete recently?
No. As a matter of fact, that the whole process was accelerated since our last meeting. The entire retaining wall, except for a section of 30 feet of length at the center, has been poured and is in place and has been backfilled and tamped. The 30-foot section at the center, which is open for a particular reason, which is that there is a new fire hydrant to be located at the lower level, and the piping must come through and pass through that wall at that point. That hydrant is on the job site now, and we expect it to be installed within the next couple of days. And it was for that reason that that center 30-foot section was omitted. But a 190-foot wall was poured under winter and overtime conditions to get that in place to stabilize that entire embankment. Happy to report that that's all in place and stable.
Where are we with any of the open issues, the open items on the high-rise? Anything happened in the last month?
Yes, I met with Inspector Scott. We went through an entire list of things. I understand there were inspections of some units. There were some 17 units remaining to be inspected, for which there was some difficulty in obtaining access. I understand as soon as Inspector Scott is back from vacation, that those units will be inspected. There are several items that are open that are to be addressed in coordination with work of the townhouse unit, things relating to exterior lighting, fencing, sidewalk work, things that are done in coordination with that, and in particular work on the plaza deck, the waterproofing there, which will be done in coordination with that work and with awaiting also the appropriate weather to do that kind of work.
And the garage roof is going to be redone too, right?
The garage roof,
When will that?
not the plaza deck portion of it.
That's where the leaks are?
Yes.
On the plaza
Yes.
deck end of it, not
Yeah.
on the
Right.
south
No,
end?
it's not at the south end.
Okay. What about the recurrent problem with the atrium? Has there been any further effort to find out where that leak is? Wasn't there a leak in the atrium still as of last month?
I'm not aware of, in the glazing portion of it now?
As far as we know, the section of the glazing and also the juncture between the brickwork on the second floor exit of the building and the
Right. At the masonry portion, that is to be done in conjunction with all the outdoor work there. As I was not aware that there was a leak within the glazing portion of it. If you could, after the meeting, let me know exactly where that is, I'll be sure that they address that.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions? of
Yes,
Mr. Horowitz?
Larry, I was up at the site myself today, and I'd like to add to Mr. Pinto. After Mike left, lumber came in. I was there, and I spoke to Alan, and he informed me that either by the end of the week or beginning of next week, that they will start on the roof of the townhouses. And I was also concerned about that slope from Clinton down. There's one portion of the area, seems like a precipice there. For some reason or other, it's hanging over, and I just hope that it doesn't erode in that point. It's, I would say, near the northeast corner. If you tour the site, you'll see an awful sharp drop there.
At the north end?
Near the northeast end. In other words, where that power pole supplying the power
Mhm.
on site. Just take a look at that. And I also like an explanation as far as supporting Clinton Place. Is there going to be a wall there?
Yes. There is a second wall at a higher level, which is 5 feet high. It's actually 3 feet in the ground, 2 feet out of the ground. There's a 5-foot sidewalk. There's a curb, then there's a 5-foot sidewalk, and then there is another wall at that point, so that this was done rather than having one large, high, sheer wall, which would be an unsightly thing to see there. It's essentially stepped back. It's the lower one that's provided all the stability now and has been backfilled, but there is still an upper tier of a wall that will go in that it's just about this high, but that goes in next.
Will that be continuous from, where would it commence and where would it end?
It's a bit longer than the lower retaining wall that you see there. It goes, I'm not sure the exact location, but it goes past the, well, there is at the south end also a turnaround with some retaining wall that has been excavated now. And it starts up about there and goes the full length of the lower retaining wall plus a bit more.
Well, Mr. Howard, can I ask you?
Sure.
First, I want to remind you that the plan of wall that we seen and we thought we were going to get has been changed.
That's correct.
The wall that was supposed to have been erected had 3 separate segments, 3 different walls. Each wall at least 7 foot high, which would have gave us very near the height of the road, or near about the elevation of the road. Now you say there's going to be another wall up on the top. Along what part of the top are we talking about? Is it going to have on line with the building, a property line and highway, or is it going to be set back any?
It's at the edge of the sidewalk. In other words, the present curb, then you will come in 5 feet with a new sidewalk, and then at that point, there is that second level of
In other
wall.
words, you'll be following the right-of-way line.
Property line, that's right. I should point out that when we changed from that other type of wall, which was done for engineering considerations, all those plans were submitted to this agency, to the Department of Buildings, and to the planning agency, too.
Now, I also visit the building inspector's office, and he put out those plans there that you had. Nothing's been approved yet. Here you got
Of
so
what?
much wall up there, and,
It's all been approved, Commissioner.
well,
That wall has been approved by 3 departments. You approved it here, it was approved at the
no,
planning
I'm
agency.
talking about the whole plan that you have in there. There've been changes made since the ones that we went along with.
What are you referring to?
Well, I'm referring to, you got closets or something going now where it was supposed to be just an area where you had that ceiling coming up that you could look down.
There have been some minor changes to some closets, that's correct. Those plans, I'm not sure whether they have been submitted or not yet. I think if the Urban Renewal Agency is interested in closet changes and want to approve those before we do them, we'll be happy to submit them to you. It's been our judgment that that's not either within your jurisdiction or your interest.
It's not our jurisdiction. I'm
Or
not
your
saying
interest,
that.
sir.
I'm not saying that. But at least anybody who was here before gave us the courtesy of doing it. And we knew
Commissioner,
what
we
it
have
would be.
kept every agency up to date and current as possible. Where there are some minor things, we are not making daily submissions, and when there's a minor change of a closet, I assure you that you will have that well before that happens, and that it has no impact on in any area of codes, of commitments on how the buildings look, or anything like that.
All I know is that building inspector showed me that there was no signatures on those plans approving of it. Unless he found the wrong ones.
Which plans are we talking about?
I'm talking about all the townhouses.
On 14 of the units, there have been a minor modification to a closet on the top floor. That's a fact. That has been redrawn. It will be resubmitted as an as-built to the Department of Buildings. It has no impact on size of units, code restrictions, or anything of the like.
Are there any questions, comments from the public? Mr. Truffaut?
There's an owners meeting tonight, a special meeting of the apartment owners at the Tower Club, so I was asked to come here tonight. One of the concerns that was expressed by the owners, which has been addressed, has been presented to you and also the village board and also the building inspector as far back as 6 weeks. We still can't seem to get an answer about the security around the project. Now, after this job shuts down at the end of the day, there's still kids playing around the building materials and on the job site. And we'd just like to know why we can't get an answer on that issue.
Which specific security
The
problem?
garage roof, the south end wall, the property adjacent to the parking lot on Underhill Street.
As long as there wasn't anything any requirement in the plans regarding video cameras, etc. If that's the type of thing you're looking for now.
The last thing we spoke about was barricade around the project, since it is being used by the public.
Barricade where? What are we talking about? I remember some talk of railroad ties or something.
That was on the upper end. We were talking about the garage roof at the last monthly meeting.
Well, the only thing I remember on that, the fact to improve around the stairs here near the municipal parking lot. Larry said he would look into that, securing that particular area.
Okay.
And I believe Mr. Pinto mentioned something about placing a sign on the upper deck, no trespassing beyond this point. or you'll be prosecuted or something
Well, we
to that
spoke about
nature.
a sign,
That
and a
nature.
few different ideas were kicked around, but it's 30 days later, and nothing has been done. So all we want to know is, are we going to just wait until somebody gets hurt and perpetuate the situation, or are we going to make a suggestion to the builder that he's going to adhere to try to prevent something like that from occurring
Well,
before we all get sued?
I'm not concerned about getting sued. I mean,
Well,
anybody
we
can
are.
wake up and sue you any day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can only require certain things of the builder. I mean, we can require that he build what he said he was going to build. Could you just shift over for a second so I can address Mr. Horowitz, too?
I'm sorry.
The issue about this, at the top of the stairs at the south end of the garage, are you familiar with what was discussed the last time, the last meeting regarding that?
Stair at the south end is there at the request of the building inspector as an emergency means of fire egress. We cannot block it. That stair has to be there. We cannot put a fence and lock it.
Where's that? Where's that now? Where's
Stair
that?
at the south end.
The south end?
Yes, there's
Well,
that wooden
let
stair.
me tell you something, Mr. Horowitz. I wish you go over there. There's no fence at all that's going to stop anybody from get up on that roof from the parking lot or from the Columbus Avenue part. Now, no building inspector ever told you that that property should not be restricted for anybody to use at their will. That's the idea of a fence.
Sir,
So it protects them and it protects us.
the question was to be able to close off that stairway that serves as an emergency egress from the top of the garage deck. We cannot
Are
close
we
that
talking
off.
about the same end of that garage?
I believe so.
South end.
South end?
The south end, right over here, right where you go there, that fence is down. And I think the request was made to erect that fence so nobody'd go in there and have a sign there, no trespassing. The police department
I don't think we're talking about the
won't do
same
a
thing,
thing unless
Commissioner.
there's a sign, no trespassing.
I think
We
said he's
also
not being
said
allowed
up
to
on the roof at the other end, so that the workers will not go and penetrate the bottom floors of the existing garage where there was a lot of vandalism going on.
Well, there you're talking about signs.
Well,
I mean, that's all you're talking about, signs, no trespassing signs. Could you take that up with the developer, no trespassing signs?
You see, we don't feel that signs are adequate on the garage roof because anybody, especially the children that play up there after hours,
Right.
can go right on the project. You have forms, rebar, you have wire mesh, you have wood with nails in it, you have numerous types of debris up there and building materials and tools and equipment all exposed that anybody can just climb up. I mean, they should be concerned about it just from a pilferage standpoint, no less the safety of the people that are exposed to it. But it seems to be just open for anybody, and it's up for grabs, and it's also, it's exposing them to a hazard.
Well,
And this question keeps coming up to me, and I'm here to present it again.
it's my understanding that the building inspector says you have to leave that stairway open. Is that correct? I mean, is that something you've addressed with him specifically?
Specifically.
I'm not-
Stair was put in at his request. That stair, which is on the plans, was to be put in at a later date, and what you will see in there now is a wood stair, which is temporary, which was put in at the request of both building inspectors. We were going to put in the steel stair at a later date that was put in at this point as a temporary one, excuse me, specifically for egress.
You know, Mr. Horowitz, again, I'm going to tell you, who needs to use those stairs outside of the people that are working there?
Sir, if you'd like it removed, you have to take it up with the building inspector. He instructed us specifically to install that stair
Let me
now.
also advise you that right at the bottom of those stairs is a very dangerous condition. There's at least a excavation under those stairs of pretty near 3 feet. And there's a plank, the kids can go in there at will right now and fall off those planks. We're not talking about the workers, we're talking about putting a fence there so it would enclose that part of the property. That's what we're talking about. There's no need, there's no tenant gonna use that end. There's a possibility that it's some kid's gonna go up there like they have been going and get hurt.
You know, I don't think that the people in the building are being unreasonable, because if you recall on the first part of the project, they hired a watchman that after working hours watched over the project, and that project was fenced in. Now all of a sudden on the second part, and we're exposed to all of these things that can be a liability to us. They are actually posing a liability to us right now. And
I'll repeat one more time that that stair is meant for the tenants. It is meant for them. It was meant, that is the interpretation of the Department of Buildings of the City of Tuckahoe, and that is at their instruction that has been put in. If you would like us to remove that stair, and they will bless it, we will do that.
Well, I agree with Commissioner Pino if one of the things he's saying is that stair is unsafe. Are you
Certainly
saying
it's
that-
unsafe.
Well,
The
obviously,
whole thing is
this-
unsafe unless there is a barricade to separate that property from the parking lot end. There's some kid could go up there as they've been going up there and going to get hurt. I'm worrying about a libel suit, not what the building inspector says or anybody else. We have been sued, not the building department will be sued. Because we're still the overseers there until we turn that property over to you.
I'll call the building inspector tomorrow to verify if that's what he
We
said,
will
and then we'll
comply
take it from there.
with what this agency wants. We would like to do what every agency wants. We would just like everybody to tell us the same thing.
You know, you're not going to close them stairs because the men are going down to the toilet there that they have there. We're not talking about, you know, the use of the stairs for one thing and the misuse for another thing is what's in question there. Kids
Sir, I'll
could go
repeat
in
one
there,
time,
it's
we will
not
do what you
fenced
want
in.
us to do.
And we asked you last month, we asked you before, we've asked the other contractor to keep a fence there and remove it when there's only an necessity for them to perform their work at this other end. Now that fence has been down a long time, and you have been asked to see that fence be put up there again, and it hasn't been done. Now you can go out of here tonight and look at it, and tell me what safety barrier you got there from anybody trespassing over there at all. That's what I'm talking about. I don't care what the building department told you, and I don't believe he told you that.
That's easy enough to verify. When the development is finished, there's going to be a stair at that end of the garage, right?
That's correct.
And what kind of access is that going to give? You need a key to get in, or you're just going to walk in?
No, there is a gate with, I believe, a key access to it to get in, but a panic-type device so you can open it from the other side to get out.
Right.
I think the purpose of that, Larry, as you say, those steps were meant for the tenants of the townhouses.
Not of the townhouses. The interpretation of the building department is that there is a fire stair tower within the tower building which empties onto the plaza deck, that area outside the pool,
Okay.
and they would like to see a path from that location to street grade. That path they see as going across the top level of the parking deck to the south end, at which point they want people that are fleeing to be able to get to Columbus Avenue grade level. The means of them getting there is that stair, which you see in its wood configuration right now, but would be in the same location.
Well, when are we going to be in a position to put that gate up? That would solve this problem at that spot. It wouldn't.
Oh, at that spot.
Yeah.
Well, the point they can do now,
Wait
they
a
can put...
second. Just a second. Okay. When is that gate going up?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think that's happening right away. I haven't seen shop drawings on that gate yet.
Okay.
No, what I'm saying, before I interrupt the Chairman, if we can put something up as a temporary measure now, and as far as the gate is concerned, I think there's only one particular point that I'd like to stress is the fact that the fire department, if you do put a lock on it, the fire department has a key to get in there.
Right there.
And I feel that by doing so, they're the only ones at this particular time in my opinion, are permitted to go in case of an emergency. As far as the tenants using the area, I think we put a sign, no trespassing beyond this point, as a temporary means until the entire project is completed and the proper fencing is installed with the, whatever means of ingress and egress. I think that will save a lot of problems and also would prevent any pilferage or any possible people trespassing who are not authorized to go within that given area.
Well, as I said, I will convey back to the owners, so the signage posting and the like. I think what Commissioner Pinto is referring to, if I understand it correctly, is not at the foot of the stair, but the area of the separation between the parking lot and that side yard. If that is open, I think you're absolutely right that certainly some fencing should go in there, and if it's not, we will instruct the contractor to do that.
Well, we're basically interested in encasing the stairs, the fencing around the perimeter of it. That's it.
Yeah, but I think it sounds like maybe we're talking about two different things. I think we're not in disagreement about that, and I think the question of being able to close off the stair with, excuse me, a gate or a fence, we will do if the building inspector will allow us to do that.
Mr. Hurst, let me repeat again. I'm not interested in who's using that fence if they're protected. They're working there, they got compensation insurances, they got other insurances. What I want done there is put a fence up so that your kids can't go into that property while you're working. Now, you've been there today, and you've seen and observed the same things that I did today. You got all kinds of steel on that deck, you got officers over there, you got to be a magician sometime to find out where you're going. If you don't watch where you step your foot, you can fall. Being a grown-up. Now, I'm not talking about people who are working there and using that temporary stair that they have, even with the excavation under it. I want it so that nobody that has no right over there to trespass there because your fence is down. And the fence is legal if you want to keep people out. You just can't have a fence that's not there and come here and we ask you to do that all the time. I told you that if OSHA ever came there, they're going to try to protect the people who might be able to get hurt there.
What point, where are we talking about it?
We're talking about along this end of the property, their property.
John, excuse me. I think what, Mr. Pinto was talking about, and the misunderstanding is, they're concentrating on the steps. Before they came with the crane to put in the concrete slabs, that parcel was fenced off. They took the fence down to get in there with the crane. They never put it back. Now, the fence went along the parking area, and in the front portion along Columbus Avenue, there was a gate because they had a dumpster that was going in and out there. So that whole piece from the end of the garage to the village's parking lot and along the parking lot going in the same direction as Underhill Street, up to the back wall, there was always a fence there. They took it down when they came in and they used that section for the crane to put their concrete slabs in. When the cranes moved out, they never put the fence back.
Is the fencing over there?
In pieces. It's not, but it would take them about a day to put that fence back, if it takes that long.
Yeah. When you talk about security concerns, Mr. Petrucco, are you talking about concerns that people are going to go up there trespass and get injured, or are we talking about concerns that somebody's going to go into the garage and break into a car and take a radio, or both?
The concern on the south end of the garage is what Commissioner Pinto describes, that, and also Mr. Cacciola, about that fence being removed and the front portion being removed and never put back. We're talking of over 100 feet of fence. Okay, it's down. If that was returned to its previous condition, nobody from the parking lot or Columbus Avenue would be able to gain access to the rooftop via that set of stairs for any purpose. That's issue number one. Issue number two is the fact that parking on the upper level of the garage was never suspended to the residents And as a result, anybody coming out of that building to get to their car, any kids playing on the roof, have total access to the project and total exposure to the hazardous conditions that exist on the rooftop garage. We have clarified that more than one time, and we have yet to address it tonight. Signs is not going to stop somebody from stepping on a nail or tripping on a piece of steel or concrete or wood or what have you. And that's the second issue we'd like addressed
Okay.
tonight.
Mr. Horowitz, what about putting that fence back up? That wouldn't be blocking the
That's,
staircase.
that sounds fine. I have no problem at all. We will instruct the contractor to put that fence back in.
Okay. Now, what about the situation on the rooftop where apparently children...
When that was
have
brought up
access
last month,
to
on the first part about, there was a suggestion last month that those people will be assigned spaces inside the garage. I was told by management that those spaces are not available and they cannot do that.
I did, at Commissioner Pinto's suggestion since our last meeting, write to OSHA and ask them on behalf of the agency to conduct an inspection of safety on the job site. So we'll see what happens in response to that letter. Although I've been told they haven't been responding necessarily to requests from municipalities to do that, but we'll see. They'll tell us they won't. What would the remedy be as to the other condition? Putting up plywood, putting up what you see about most construction sites?
Temporary chain link fence and keep all the materials on the side of the garage away from the pedestrian and car traffic. So that when the workmen want to go work, they work within the boundaries of their construction site. Not that their construction site is all over the boundaries of the outer walls of the garage throughout the whole rooftop.
What about that, Mr. Horowitz? Is there any way we can separate that from where the tenants are walking and where children are coming out to...
Well, I've only been there during the daytime, so I've not seen children playing out there, so I'm not aware of this being some playground. It certainly doesn't look like that kind of thing is in place there. So I'm not prone to just accept as face value that that's what's going on there.
Shouldn't there be some separation? Isn't there usually separation like that on a construction site of this magnitude, this much buildings going on?
Yes, there is. You see that bright orange expanded vinyl type fencing that is put up around there to keep people away. I think what we will do is see if the contractor can erect that kind of barrier in such a way that it will not interfere with the safe egress across the top there and the use of the parking that has to remain on that level. I think if it's possible to combine things to that side of the garage, that's certainly a good idea.
Was there any other item? Okay.
Well, that's all we're after. I mean, we're happy with that. If he's willing to just keep his materials and equipment and debris on his side of the fence so nobody gets hurt and we don't get sued. And the agency doesn't have to be burdened with any other occurrences over there.
What I would appreciate, Mr. Horowitz, if that fence isn't going to go back up at the south end, the fence that was taken down, if you give me a call and let me know in a day or two.
Sure.
We can discuss it further, but otherwise I'll assume it'll be going back up in the near future.
Yeah, I don't know of any reason why it can't. I believe that the last work that had to be done in that area happened a few days ago. There was a remaining piece of steel and several sections of precast plank to drop in there, and I believe that's all in place now. I'll talk to the contractor in the morning. If there's any reason at all why it can't go up immediately, I'll certainly let you know.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Tuckahoe? Thank you.
One more thing, Mr. Horowitz. The request of all the residents up on that hill over there, Pleasant Place. I contacted the chief of police and he designated some of them cars parked down there on Pleasant Avenue. Since we had told the superintendent there to advise his men, they're blocking people's driveways and all. Some of them ought to park down on Pleasant Place, on Pleasant Avenue. 2 weeks went by and nobody parked there at all. They're parking illegal. The chief had suspended giving summonses there. And I said, after this meeting now, if they don't take advantage of that request, then they're gonna get summonses again. Is that fair enough?
I think you should enforce the law. I agree with you completely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of people go home for lunch up there on that hill, and they can't even get in their own driveways there.
Anybody
And
that
if
parks
you look
illegally
at-
there should be ticketed. I
At the
agree.
bottom of the hill there, we had put a no parking sign so big trucks can pull down and back into the driveway to deliver material. And one day, when I was there, the guy couldn't do it because one of the employees on your job blocked that area. You know, we like to have a little cooperation and have our citizens not suffer all that.
I agree. I think the police department should enforce the law 100% there. Absolutely.
I felt sorry for the guys that are getting summonses, but I can't feel sorry
I
after
don't
they
feel sorry
fail
for
to
them at
take
all.
it-
The law's the law and
take
they should obey
advantage
it.
or something. You tell the superintendent there, it seems like as if you're talking to the wall. Like playing buck, how many horns are up, and you don't know what the answer's gonna be. You can't do it anymore. You wouldn't do that in other communities. No, this is a small
Sir, I agree
village.
with you completely.
This is a small village.
Absolutely, I agree.
A lot of jobs I worked in during my living, they put the barricades up or they don't go anywheres. And you know that yourself.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Horowitz. Tony, just a question. On the streets immediately adjacent to the project in the back, the few times I've driven through there, you get a lot of dirt from the project. Are we cleaning that and then billing the developer, or what's going on
No,
with
they're
that?
cleaning it.
Oh, they clean it? They clean it up?
They're cleaning it.
Are they doing it satisfactorily to your satisfaction?
Well, they were, you know, then I was away for 2 weeks, and then I just got back. Now, I haven't been up there because I've been trying to catch up on some of my paperwork. However, I will be going up there tomorrow, and I spoke to his man today about our right-of-way up there. We have a roughly about a 30-foot right-of-way, and I was told that that wall was going to be 6 feet high, the second wall.
The one that Mr. Horowitz said is going to be 5 feet?
The one that Mr. Howard said was going to be 5 feet. And no one mentioned anything about a 5-foot sidewalk going the length of that wall. That sidewalk is going to be the whole length of that wall? That smaller wall?
Yes, sir, that sidewalk is shown on the plans which are on file with all the agencies, building department, this agency, and the planning
Okay.
department.
And I believe, and I told your man that I would be up there tomorrow. I think the width of the road right now is about 18 feet. The right-of-way
A
is
little wider, I
30.
think.
But the roadway itself from curb to curb is roughly around 18 feet. I have to get up there and measure it. And, of course, he said he wants to reset the curb, you know, to redo that part of the road that was caved in. However, if you're going to go through there with your fire hydrant connection and dig it up again, I'd rather see you do that first, and then put your curbing and your sidewalk and your wall.
That's the sequence they're
Yeah,
planning.
so
They're
because
doing the fire
even-
hydrant right now.
Yeah, even in the 30-foot section that you have down on the bottom, I think if they want to pour that, they could go ahead and do that and just leave a sleeve through the wall where they can bring the pipe through.
Yeah, well, what they're doing is they will set the section of pipe that actually fits within the footing there, and then they will pour on top of that, and then they will
Right.
make the connections on either side.
Yeah, because I'd like to see that done as soon as possible. It's
So
been a
we all
month
would
now
like to.
that the people up there have been inconvenienced with the use of that road, and I'd like to see it done as soon as possible so that they don't have that inconvenience.
We
too
appreciate
much
that, and
longer.
that's has first priority there. They are moving, they've worked overtime on that, and they are using winter concreting, which, as you know, is much more expensive. They're not waiting for good weather to proceed with that, they're just doing it.
What's up regarding the certificates of occupancy that were outstanding? Have any more been issued?
I understand that, I think the number is 16, but don't hold me to the exact number, but I think some 16 were issued or inspected, and there was a large number, a group inspected, there were COs issued, there were A few, I believe, where there were some corrections to be made, which are being done now, and then there were, I believe, 17 that they were unable to get access to.
What is that question, John?
I asked Mr. Horowitz what the latest was with respect to the, was it 30 or so certificates?
I think about half of them.
33 summonses issued.
All right. Well,
And as of today, they inspected 17.
well, I think that's pretty much in
And,
line with what he said earlier.
They didn't go back to inspect yet again, so there's no certificates have been issued as of today. I know that.
That's not the information I was given.
Where did you get the information?
From Mr. Palumbo, the attorney.
Who?
Mr. Palumbo
Mr. Plumbo?
told me that there were
You tell
certificates
Mr.
issued.
Plumbo he better get his facts straight. Because the Board of Fire Underwriters representative was here today, and I met him in the office. There are 33 kitchens to inspect. Only 17 had been inspected, and they would not go back to re-inspect the violations on the 17 that have been inspected. In the meantime, the building inspector went on vacation and he's in Florida, so he has to wait till next week before they inspect the others. That's the true story. Now, Mr. Plumbo, next time you ought to come up there. If he knows anything we don't know, he can enlighten us. You know, you're just repeating what he said.
That's right.
But you better believe what I say, because I was in that office today. Not only that, them were not the only objection that the building department had, was the 33 kitchens. A lot more. A lot more. I'd like to ask Ray if the coolers are operable again. The pool. I think that was one of the things there that the building inspector's waiting for get the official papers on it so that he could give you a certificate of completion.
What are we talking about, the steam rooms, or what did you say the spot? Oh.
About 6 weeks.
Do you know what's up there?
I don't know what the story is beyond that.
Anything else for Mr. Horowitz?
Well, you got a whole Bible to read now about what we said here tonight. I hope that you relay it to Mr. Palumbo or Mr.
I think if
Burns.
you'd like, I'll ask Mr. Palumbo to call you tomorrow morning, Mr. Callahan. I think he can
do
give
that.
you
I'd
an update
appreciate that.
on
Sure.
on the certificate of occupancy.
We'd also,
'Cause
obviously,
I've heard different information.
You know, we'll show you documents that they agreed to get them things done. Them dates are gone so far behind. Looks like the lost trail if you try to trail it back. They're not finished.
Right, and we also appreciate your expeditious attention to the items regarding the putting the fencing back up and some sort of arrangement on the rooftop so as to separate the construction area from the area where the owners are walking back and forth there. Thanks. All right, some administrative matters. Oh, did you? Yes.
It was also brought up, now that you brought it up here tonight, if you know anything about the expiration of the deadline on those 33 apartments. They were given a date of February 20th. Is that coming before the village court again, or what's going to happen?
I don't know whether the prosecution is. Do you know?
It wasn't prosecuted by the judge. It was just an agreement between Mr. Plumbo and Mr. Marion.
Well, no. Well, okay, but there was a prosecution initiated by the village, and I don't know what the status of that is
Did not come
now.
up before the
He was
court.
fined $750.
Did not come up before the court.
Oh, that was my recollection, or I think I saw it in the paper that there was a $750 fine.
That's right. It was an agreement between the two lawyers.
But when that
Not a
date,
court
when
act.
that date
Did not go
expired,
to
what
court.
happens now?
It's a settlement.
The date
That's
expired.
what a building is.
No, I was just wondering if anybody knew anything on that.
I don't know.
Get involved in
All
that.
right.
That's
It's a building.
between the building inspector and the village attorney and the village justice and Mr. Palumbo. All right, we have a voucher for $125 for stenographer services for the meeting of January 17th, 1990. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
A second?
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Can we consider approving the minutes for the November 1989 meeting?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Second motion?
Second.
Yep.
Any discussion, any changes? All those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted? Aye. It's unanimous. Anything, Tony?
Yes. I would like to, we have a note coming due. The note for $22,000 is coming due on the 25th. And right now, we have a balance in the checking account of $211. Once we pay the voucher that you just approved, we'll deplete that by $125.
What do you suggest?
When I roll this over on the 25th, I would like to take $500 out of that and put it into the checking account for our expenses. That should take care of us for about 4 months.
Any objection to that? No. Okay, fine.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes. Okay, we'll talk to her about that. All right, if there's no other business, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second the motion.
I'll make it then.
You make
All
the
those in
motion.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Dewey.
You've been watching recorded coverage of the February 21st, 1990 Tuckahoe Urban Renewal Agency meeting. Your cameraman director was Dewey Macenti, chairman of the Tuckahoe Cable TV Advisory Committee, and this has been a Village of Tuckahoe Cable 36 presentation. You're watching Tuckahoe's Government Access Cable Channel. Cable Channel 36 is the Village of Tuckahoe's cable access channel on the UA Columbia cable system serving Tuckahoe and Eastchester. A reminder that we broadcast all of the Village Board meetings live right here on Channel 36. That's the second and fourth Mondays of the month. The Village Board meetings are broadcast live right here on Channel 36, and they're then repeated the following weekend, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night at 7:30, and they're also repeated Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. and 2 p.m.
Hello, this is Johnny. I'm sorry that I'm not home, but if you leave me your name and number, I promise soon as I get in I'll phone.
Joni came over to my house last night. I drank a little too much red and we got into a fight. She said I'm leaving and I let her go alone. I felt so damn bad this morning I reached right for the phone and called her right away to beg her to forgive. The phone rang once, the phone rang twice, and then I heard her say, hey,
Hello, this is Johnny. I'm sorry that I'm not home, but if you leave me your name and number, I promise soon as I get in I'll phone.
Joni, I'm sorry and I'm feeling oh so small. That was the message that I left and I waited for her call. I waited with a sinking feeling in my heart, not knowing if she'd forgive me was tearing me apart. I couldn't go on this way, I had to call again. The phone rang once, the phone rang twice, and then I heard her say, hey,
Hello, this is Johnny. I'm sorry that I'm not home,
but if you leave me your name and number,
I promise soon as I get in I'll phone.
Joni's car had crashed. I never should have